Hello, my name's Andy Rafael from eTeknix.com, and today we're looking at the Jetway Atom-GM1 motherboard. What comes included with the motherboard is a serial ATA cable, IDE cable, I/O panel shield plate, motherboard driver installation CD, user's manual, as well as a specification sheet. Looking at the full specifications of this particular motherboard now, it uses an Intel 945GC memory controller chipset, as well as an Intel 82801G I/O controller hub chipset. The CPU support is Intel Atom-230 and 330 CPUs, supporting an FSB frequency of 533 MHz. Looking at the underside of the motherboard, we can see that it sports this green PCB. Taking a look at the general design of the motherboard now, we can see that it's quite small. The actual PCB is 22.8 centimeters by 18 centimeters and uses the micro ATX form factor. Looking at the two memory slots on the board now, we can see that it will take two 240-pin DDR2 DIMM modules operating at a speed of 533 MHz. This is expandable up to 4 GB. And now taking a look at the various expansion slots, we can see that we have one PCI Express one-time slot and two 32-bit PCI slots. Taking a look at where you'd put your particular storage devices and CD and DVD ROMs, we can see that we have a IDE port over here, a floppy drive port over here, and two serial ATA ports. The serial ATA ports are serial ATA 2, so they will operate at a speed of 3 GB a second. Taking a look at the board's cooling now, we can see that over the Intel 82801G ICH chipset, we can see that there's no heatsink or fan covering this. This generally won't get too hot, so you won't need to worry. Over the Intel 945GC Express chipset, which of course controls the memory controller, there's a very small heatsink and fan on here. And underneath this heatsink over here is where the Intel Atom CPU is, because of course this board does come supplied with the CPU already. And taking a look at the various fan connectors on the board, we can see that we have a system fan 3-pin connector here, another one over here, and a CPU fan connected here. There are various different headers on the board. This includes ones ranging from USB to, of course, the front panel connectors. So just having a quick look at them now, we can see that the first one is the CD audio in header. Over here we have the front panel audio connector if your case has a microphone port or headphone jack. Next to it is a USB port and another one there. Over here is where a parallel connector would go. Front panel connector goes down here. This includes the power button and reset button, and next to it is where you'd plug in the power LED and speaker header. As well as the various headers on the board, there are also a few jumpers. You can see that next to the battery, which controls BIOS or CMOS, we can see that the JBAT1 jumper is situated next to it. This is in case you need to reset BIOS if something goes wrong with the computer. We can also see that down here is a USB power on jumper, also known as JP3. So with this you can have it on or off, and that will affect the two USB headers below it. We can also see that there is another jumper all the way up here. This is the keyboard and mouse support power, also called JP1. Now taking a look at the various connections on the back of the motherboard on the I/O panel, we can see that we've got the standard PS2 mouse and keyboard connections, a serial port, also known as a COM port, a VGA port, because of course this motherboard does have integrated graphics. It uses an integrated graphics media accelerator 950 and is DirectX 9C compliant with 2D and 3D graphics. Next to this is two USB ports, as well as another two next to this. Above it is the integrated LAN. This uses the Realtek RTL 8103EL 10100 LAN chip. So this will operate at a speed of 10 MB and 100 MB for the data transfer rate. And also next to this is the HD audio, which is supplied by Realtek using the ALC662 HD 6-channel audio codec, and also supports 6-channel 3D surround and positioning audio. The audio drivers and utilities are included on the driver installation CD-ROM. Once you've connected everything up, you're going to want to turn the computer on and press the delete key. This will take you into the BIOS and you'll be greeted with a screen like this. It will have various other different menus within it. The first one is the standard CMOS features where we can check the time and date and what devices we've got connected. Next one down is the advanced BIOS features, which the main ones are going to be the settings for the first, second and third boot devices, among other features. Next one down is the advanced chipset features, where the main thing that you're going to want to change, if at all, is the memory timings. We can set that back to SPD. You can also see that there's settings for the onboard VGA. Next one down is integrated peripherals, including the onboard IDE channels, as well as USB and LAN, and the Super I/O functions, including the serial port. Next one down is power management setup, where we can see all the various different settings for waking up on a USB keyboard and so on. We've also got plug and play and PCI configurations. PC health status, if you want to change a shutdown temperature, enable one of them, but you probably won't need to because the Atom chips run fairly cool. We can see the various different voltages, temperatures and the speed of the CPU fan. Last but not least, we've got the miscellaneous control, which the only settings in there, if you're going to change any, are going to be the speed of the memory and the voltages of the memory.
Trying to find a price for the Atom-GM1 proved quite a difficult task. I couldn't actually find it for sale anywhere in the UK. The only place I could actually find it for sale was in America on newegg.com, and it was $89.99. I'm not too sure whether they actually ship to the UK or the rest of Europe, but it is the only place I could actually find it for sale. I'm going to have to be brutally honest with you. I've never been a fan of Intel. I've always thought that their products are overpriced and a lot of it is just media hype. But the Atom has changed my mind because it's fantastic. It's a 1.6 GHz dual-core processor that uses hardly any power, which means that there's hardly any heat involved, and it's just an outstanding combination that Jetway have come up with. It's probably one of the smallest boards I've ever had to use before, and it just seems to pack a lot of punch for that. Just looking at the benchmarks, you can see how fantastic the results were. And the thing that I really like about this is the fact I was running it on a 24-inch monitor at 1920 by 1200, and Windows Aero was fully supported, and that was using the integrated graphics, and I just think that's absolutely amazing. The only downside to this is the lack of availability in the UK, but I think when this does hit the UK market, it's going to hit it by storm, and people are really going to like to it. So because of that, I'm going to give this 4 out of 5 stars.